There comes a precise moment in startup life when the enthusiasm of the founding team collides with the reality of formal agreements. Everything is going well. The idea works, the team is cohesive, investors are starting to show interest. Then, during negotiations, a word drops that changes the tone of the conversation. Vesting. Naturally, we expect a standard 4-year vesting period with a 12-month cliff. And suddenly, the company we create with such drive no longer seems entirely ours. The equity, it will vest over time. The work, monitored at timeline. Trust, put into writing with clauses and penalties. But what does vesting really mean? Why do investors insist on it? And how can we, as founders, protect ourselves? Let's explore it together right after the intro, of course. So before we start, we have been told by very reliable sources that subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell icon brings good luck in negotiation. No miracles guaranteed, but it's worth a try. Vesting is a contractual mechanism that provides the gradual accrual of right, in our case, ownership of company shares. More precisely, even if a founder holds on paper a certain percentage of the company, that percentage may not be fully acquired immediately. It will vest over time depending on continued active involvement in the startup. We may compare it, somewhat ironically, to a marriage with a prenuptial clause. The promises are real, but each month is proof of your commitment. If one partner leaves too early, the promises vanish. In practical terms, vesting applies in two main scenarios. The first, future shares to be granted. The simplest case typically for collaborators or employees. The shares haven't been assigned yet, but the contract says that will be allocated progressively, for example, 25% per year over 4 years. The second one is already assigned shares under reverse vesting, which is more common for founders. The shares are in their name, but the shareholders' agreement of investment contract says they must be given back, fully or partially, to the company or to other shareholders at a set value if a founder leaves before the vesting period ends. So let's see how it works technically. The most common standard is venture capital is known as 4-year with 1-year cliff. This means the vesting period lasts 4 years and there is a 12-month initial cliff. If a founder leaves before 1 year, nothing vests. After the first year, the remaining shares vest monthly or quarterly. Let's look at an example. A founder has 20% of the company with 4-year vesting plus 1-year cliff. If he leaves after 11 months, he gets nothing. If he stays for 2 years, he vests 50% of the shares, so 10% of the company. Now let's add complexity. Suppose that Winston, Jack, and Kathryn are 3 co-founders of a startup. Startup has been running for a year and is doing really well. So well that a well-known angel investor, the Club of the Time Wasters, decides to invest. After the investment, the cap table is structured like this. Winston has 20%, Jack 20%, Kathryn 20%, and the Club of the Time Wasters 40%. Now the club requests that the founder's shares be subject to a 4-year vesting with a 12-month cliff. Formally, the shares are assigned immediately, but they will only actually be acquired if the founders stay active in the project for at least 1 year and then for the remaining 3. After 1 year, each founder vests 25% of their shares, so 5% of the company. If, for example, Winston leaves after 18 months, he will have vested about 37% of his shares, that is 7.5% of the company. The remaining 12.5% returns to the other shareholders according to the terms in the agreement. This system protects the startup and investor from premature departures. There are a few variants too. The accelerated vesting shares vest faster in the event of a company sale. Double trigger accelerated vesting. Vesting happens only if 2 conditions occur. An example, a company sale and a founder being dismissed. Contractually, it is important to clearly define who has repurchase rights, the company, other shareholders, and set the repurchase price, which could be nominal value, fair market value. Again, clarify the difference between good lever and bad lever, because it changes everything. Just remind, a good lever exists in an orderly way and for legitimate reasons, for example, health problems, serious family issues, mutual agreement. Bad lever exists abruptly, breaches agreement, or it is dismissed for cause. In this case, they lose their vest shares or must transfer them under punitive terms. Lastly, vesting for founders is different from a classic employee stock option plan. In the former, we are talking about existing shares, and the latter about future options. So, why investors want it? Investors dislike surprises. And nothing is more destabilizing than a founder walking away after 6 months, taking a big chunk of equity with him. Vesting helps to ensure long-term commitment and continuity, to protect the cap table from early fragmentation, and again, to maintain negotiating leverage in future funding rounds. Ultimately, if the goal is to build value together, vesting aligns everyone's interest. So, without vesting, startup history would be full of lawsuits, frozen equity, and fleeing investors. Now, how to protect yourself as a founder? Agreeing to vesting doesn't mean being passive. There are ways to negotiate a fair deal. For example, accelerated vesting. Include it in case of an exit or sale. Good leaver clause. If someone leaves for valid reason, again health, family, etc., the treatment should be more favorable. Past seniority. If you have worked on the project for years, so you can negotiate some already vested shares. And again, different roles. An active co-founder may have strict vesting than an advisor. And of course, get proper legal advice, because details matter. So, as a conclusion, vesting ultimately is a mutual promise. On one side, investor asking for guarantees. On the other side, founders who want to build with strength. It is not about mistrust, it's about clarity. And in the world of startup and in the business in general, clarity is worth as much as the idea itself. See you next week!